What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JB Sports back again with another one. We're going to talk about an LA Times report saying that everything is pointing toward a Deontay Wilder versus Luis Ortiz rematch taking place in the Staples Center. The dates that they're looking at are September 7th and September 28th, although a FS1 card is also being lined up for the September 28th date. So we'll see what happens on those two dates. But you know, there's also been rumors coming out that, previous rumors coming out saying that Danny Garcia versus Mikey Garcia was going to take place on August 31st at the Staples Center, and that would be a pay-per-view too. So it's going to be hard for me to believe they're going to have two pay-per-view fights on back-to-back weeks. I don't see that happening at all. So somebody's going to have to move their date. You know, maybe they're going to move Danny and Mikey to a later date. Maybe they're going to move them to October. Maybe the September 28th. Oh no, my bad. The September 28th. That's supposed to be the FS1 card. Maybe they put Danny Garcia and Mikey Garcia on that date. Put them on there on the 28th, and you'll have a 3-week. That's still, to me, that's still too soon. You have a pay-per-view on September 7th, and you have another pay-per-view in the same month on the September 28th. I think that still be too much for you to ask the boxing fan to pay for two pay-per-view fights in the same month, man. They're gonna have a real high cable bill. So one of them fights gonna have to get moved, or one of them fights, or maybe they change it and maybe they put Danny and Mikey on Fox. You know, maybe they put them on regular Fox and take them out pay-per-view. You know, maybe they do that again, because Deontay Wilder and Luis Ortiz is definitely gonna be a pay-per-view fight. They lining it up for a Showtime pay-per-view. But we'll see what happens, man. You know, you got a lot of AJ fans saying Wilder ducking, why is he fighting Ortiz? You know, he already defeated Ortiz, already knocked Ortiz out. But you remember that fight was a fight of the year candidate, a great fight, probably one of the best, that fight there, Luis Ortiz and Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua versus Vladimir Klitschko. Them were probably the two best heavyweight fights probably in the last 10 years. So that was a great fight, man. Great fight, man. Great matchup, man. I wouldn't mind seeing it again. And talking about Showtime pay-per-view, you know, they also in this article they got two unidentified heavyweight prospects saying they're going to be on the undercard. So they said they've been lined up to be on the undercard of the Deontay Wilder versus Luis Ortiz rematch. So we'll see what happens, man. You know, first fight was great, man. Wouldn't mind seeing it again, and maybe Wilder can win this fight in a more devastating fashion. Because he had problems in the first fight, man. He was in trouble in that 7th round, as he was hurt, and Luis Ortiz landed about 15, 16 punches in a row without Wilder responding. But Wilder was able to overcome adversity and was able to stop him later on in the fight. So it was a great fight, man. Great matchup, and we look forward to seeing that, man. But that's what the news of the day is in boxing, man. Everything's been lined up toward a Deontay Wilder versus Luis Ortiz rematch at the Staples Center in Los Angeles, California. You remember the first fight was at the Barclays in New York. So that's a very smart strategic move to put this in LA. You had a great fight on the East Coast. You got the East Coast buzzing about Deontay Wilder and Luis Ortiz. You had a rematch in LA on the West Coast, and you know, in another high profile fight. You know, you get the buzz. You get the buzz on the East Coast, you get the buzz on the West Coast. And people on the East Coast gonna be fired up for the rematch because they remember how the first fight went. So they'll be able to galvanize the fans from both coasts, basically, East Coast and West Coast. So they'll be excited by that fight. So we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what's happening. You know, as you know, we're in fight week this week, leading up to Anthony Joshua versus Andy Ruiz. Anthony Joshua is out here doing the media circuit, you know, doing a lot of interviews and basically saying that him and Deontay Wilder need to sit down face to face and iron out their differences. You know, and stuff like that. You know, he's coming out. You know, like I said, man, AJ is coming out the woodworks, man. Like I said, you know, like I just told you about this report about Deontay Wilder and Luis Ortiz. It's probably the worst kept secret in boxing. Everybody knows that that's the most likely next fight for Deontay Wilder. AJ knows this. Eddie Hearn knows this. So now they out here on this propaganda tour and saying that, oh man, let's just sit down and make the fight. Hopefully I can talk with him, and hopefully I can jump in front of the Luis Ortiz rematch and he'll fight me next. And stuff like that, you know, make it seem like you really want to fight, man. If you really want to fight, you'll be saying these interviews that you're doing on ESPN and all these other different YouTube outlets, and you'll be saying, look, Wilder, If 50-50 is what you want, it's 50-50 is what you're going to get. 50-50 straight down the middle. You know, whatever the pot is, if it's a $100 million fight, $50 million for you, $50 million for me. If it's a $200 million fight, $100 million for you, $100 million for me. That's easy. If you really want to make the fight, go, you know, take the necessary steps to make the fight. Don't just say we got to sit down and let's discuss this and let's come to understanding. And you basically saying, let's say I'm going to sit down with Wilder, you know, and, you know, we can iron out our differences, but I'm going to be the A side, you're going to be the B side, and you just got to come to your senses and understand that I am the A side. You know, that's basically what he sounds like. We talking, let's sit down and we iron up our differences and we can come to some kind of understanding and this and that, man. It ain't no iron out no differences, because it ain't no differences. It's clear cut, man. The man told Deontay Wilder told you 50-50. Now either you take it or leave it. If you don't want to, if you still feel like you the A side, you don't want to do 50-50 deal with Wilder, well, move on with your career, Anthony Joshua. Keep fighting, you know, you got Andy Ruiz, you get by that, you know, set up a fight with Michael Johnson or Michael Hunter, my bad. I think about Michael Johnson, the track runner. But more people know Michael Johnson, the track runner, after about 10, 12 years since he retired from the track and field, they know about Michael Hunter, the boxer. But go on fight Michael Hunter, you know, Kubrat Pulev, Dylan White rematch, you know, and go on, move on with your career, man. You know, Wilder told you it's 50-50. You know what I'm saying? You know, I don't. The thing about it is, man, a lot of people want to talk about money, talk about attendance, and talk about who's making what and this and that. You know, y'all the one made it about this when Wilder was willing to accept $15 million. He actually was willing to accept $15 million, and he was willing to fight you over in the UK. But your promoter Eddie Hearn and his daddy Barry Hearn didn't want to fight. They persuaded you to take the Povetkin fight. You know, saying that got the WBA to get out here and say that they mandated the fight. How you gonna mandate a mandatory over a unification fight? There's no way in boxing that a mandatory trumps a unification fight. Everybody know unification trumps mandatory. So that was just bogus for WBA to come out there and step in front and say that they mandating this fight, and you know they've been waiting, try to see if Wilder and Joshua could come to terms, and they tired of waiting. We just gonna mandate this fight, and that's that. That's not how that worked. Eddie Hearn called those people. And got those people at the WBA offices to put out their statement saying that this is going to be the next fight and they tired of waiting. Everybody knows that unification trumps mandatory. So it's, you know, so while AJ is out here on this propaganda tour, you know, making it seem like he really wants to fight, you got Eddie Hearn out here saying, oh, once we get through Andy Ruiz, we're going directly at Deontay Wilder. Yeah, all that sounds good. That sounds real good. But you and your boy AJ know that Wilder is most likely fighting Luis Ortiz next. He's not playing those games with you guys. He's not gonna get in no bogus negotiation with you guys, stalling his career out, knowing you guys really are not serious about making a fight like he did in last year. Wasted 4 months. He could have been fighting somebody in those 4 months. Ended up waiting 4 months trying to negotiate a fight. It probably cost himself a fight that he could have had in 2018. I think Wilder fought twice in 2018. He fought Luis Ortiz and he fought Tyson Fury. He probably could have had another fight in there. He probably could have had 3 fights in 2018, but he was trying to make the fight with Anthony Joshua and ended up wasting his time for 4 months. So now you got to live with the results. Wilder's moving on with his career, and if you're not willing to give him 50-50, I suggest you move on with your career, AJ. It is what it is. So this is just a quick. This is my take on the situation, man. We'll see what happens. But again, Wilder versus Ortiz is being lined up for the month of September. Staples Center is the front runner venue for the fight, and that's what it is, man. We'll see what happens, man. We'll see how it plays out, man. This is JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend. I holla.